It was getting late now. Josh and Emma were late and drunk, supported by his arm while he carried her heels in the other hand. He hoped he could avoid the fight about him being late because he was so drunk that they could only go home and sleep. "Emma, could you sit somewhere while I order a taxi?" he murmured. "No, I'll take the car," Emma slurred. "But Em, we're drunk out of..." "Do you want to add to my humiliation of showing up alone by making me take a taxi?" "Look, I will call an Uber X," Josh offered. She slipped her hand inside his pocket and pulled out the valet card. "I will drive," she stated. Josh got into the car, tipping the valet and thanking him. Emma hit the accelerator and the car sped through the road. "Emma, please slow down," Josh almost screamed. Josh looked out the windshield. The trees at the side of the road were rushing towards them. He heard the brakes screeching. The car freed itself and the smell of disc brakes. Josh pulled the handbrake. The car hurled towards the trees and flipped. Moments flashed before him. He remembered the petals strewn across the bedroom floor in anticipation of Emma. Candles lit. He saw the candid number 2 and 7 being blown out. Emma putting a slice of cake in his mouth. His print of Emma's face with coded numbers. Then the pain hit him, and the world turned dark. Josh opened his eyes. His head was numb, his eyes stung, and his body felt like he had been thrown down a mountain. Emma loomed into his vision. "Are you okay?" Josh croaked. Emma's eyes were puffy. Her skin was sallow. "Josh, honey, thank goodness." Emma kissed his forehead. "What happened?" Josh sighed. "We were in an accident. You pulled the handbrake and the car flipped. You hit your head." "But you're all right, babe?" "I'm fine. Minor scratches." She was breathless. They were interrupted. "Hi, Josh. I'm Dr. Norman. How are you feeling?" A dark man with graying temples and a stethoscope around his neck greeted Josh. "As good as I could be," Josh smiled. "Well, I have some bad news." The doctor shook his head. Josh sought Emma's hand. "You have a spinal injury. You are suffering from post-trauma amnesia. You hit your head. I am sure we can get somewhere with therapy, but medically, I'm sorry, I cannot help you." Dr. Norman lowered his eyes. Josh clasped Emma's hand tighter. "I am sure we will get through it," he said, glancing in Emma's way. They came home. Sophia, Josh's housekeeper, greeted them. He could not remember anyone except Emma. "Mr. Josh, I'm sorry. I did not know whether to let your bedroom. I cleaned it, but let the candles remain," she stammered. Josh looked at her wide-eyed. "Josh, this is Sophia. She is your housekeeper. Sophia, please carry inside all the bouquets. Set them in vases," Emma ordered. Over the next few weeks, Josh's life took a new schedule. He lay in bed watching television. Sophia catered to his daily needs. Emma dropped in after work. They ate and watched television, after which Emma left. In Emma's absence, Josh saw flashes of what he thought was his previous life. Large computers and men are calling out to him. And 2 faces, a man and a woman. Josh saw himself laughing with them, not knowing who they were. Josh feared he would forget Emma too. On weekends, Emma and Josh went out into the city. He would ask about those flashes, the computers. He owned them. They now had to be sold for treatment. The man and the woman, his friends. Picnics ended with a stop at the doctor's office. Soon Josh handed his credit card to Emma. Josh noted that Emma turned morose each day. Her eyes sank, refusing to meet his gaze. Josh held her hand as they sat together a month after the crash. "Em, what is disturbing you so much?" he asked. I am the reason you're, in this mess," she stammered. "It was a bad judgment call, babe. It could have been anyone." Josh kissed her hand. Slowly, the guilt lifted itself from her shoulders. As Emma paid for drinks with Josh's card, she told her friends it was Josh's fault. The car would not have flipped if he had not pulled the handbrake. Daniel and Iris had visited the hospital only once. After Emma's claims, they too maintained their distance. 2 months down the lane, Emma dropped the bombshell on him as they sat together. "Josh, I got an offer from a chain of hotels for the concierge. I will have to leave the state," she exclaimed. "But I need you," he murmured. "Look, I have to make it work, but what, Em? My clearest memory is that of you, and you are my only link to the outside world. Josh, I have to look forward. If I stay with you, I will have to support both of us. It is too much, and with your medical bills piling up, you cannot afford to pay for it. None of it, much less my lifestyle. Em, don't leave me, please. We will make it work. I will try harder in therapy," Josh cried. "I'm sorry, love. I hope we can remain friends. Also, doing long-distance work is too hard for me." "Please don't. You are all I have of my past life," Josh mumbled. Emma kissed him and pulled away quickly. You will make it through," she spoke. Emma left that night. The entire night, pre- and post-accident memories of Emma and him flooded his mind. Josh tried to log on his Facebook to connect with friends and his Instagram, but he had forgotten all his passwords. Josh lay in bed agonizing. In the morning, he woke to Sophia screaming. He rushed out and saw her wrinkled skin laced with tears. "Mr. Josh, I promised I did not take anything. I promised," she hiccuped. His table, lined with iPads and Macs, was empty. The last blow Emma had delivered. Josh calmed Sophia down and went to his room, feeling empty and hopeless. Josh sank into depression as his days bled into nights and days again. Josh saw Sophia as a constant presence. She cooked him her native Colombian delicacies, talked to him, and told him about the life she saw him live, his office and his colleagues. She told him about the investments he would go big, but could not tell him what it was. Soon they became close friends. One day, Sophia came at her usual time. "Mr. Josh, I am old. I should go back to my village." Tears rolled down Josh's face, imagining his horrible loneliness. "No, please listen. Mr. Josh, you come with me. I will take you to my village. The air is pure and it is green. Better than sitting in a room all day." Her reasoning sealed the deal. Josh arrived in Kutape, where he was given a warm welcome by many of Sophia's children and grandchildren. They gathered around him, serving him various delicious concoctions that Sophia promised would heal him. He felt the warmth of generosity flow through him. The days morphed into long walks, hikes, and delicious foods brought over by the villagers. Josh roamed the countryside, and when he forgot his way, a villager would guide him to Sophia's hut, sometimes leaving their work to drive him there. At night, Sophia burnt candles, her murmured prayers reaching Josh's ears. And in those moments, Josh felt a wave of affection for her. Sophia talked to Josh, teaching him words and asking him about the small things that confused her in New York. Josh answered as best he could, given the state of his memory, which he felt had improved. He would now remember Daniel and Iris, and as he was vexed at their abandonment and betrayal, he compared their abandonment with the generosity of the people in the village. About 6 months after arriving in Guatape, Sophia's grandson showed him his phone. "Look, my Facebook," he said. A memory of clicking keyboard keys hit him. The task he had repeated several times, sometimes twice a day. Josh took the phone and punched his email and password into Facebook. He was in. After months, he was in. Gratitude washed over Josh, and to show it, he searched for the pictures Sophia's grandson had taken of the two of them over the months. He selected a few. "I was in an accident that made me lose my memory. My friends, Daniel, Iris, and my girlfriend Emma abandoned me at this time. I was taken to Colombia by Sophia, who nursed me to health. While I have lost all to my name, courtesy of Emma, I want to thank everyone who abandoned me. I now know true friendship and true humanity. He clicked the post. Over the next 3 days, a storm of media hit him. He was called on news channels, local and international, to tell his story. A plethora of journalists were interviewing him. Words of comfort and solidarity flooded his inbox. In this flurry of activity, he looked at Emma's comment under his post. Things are not what they always look like. I needed to move on. It was too much. However, I took everything but the USB locket. It hit him then. Josh had spent an entire night mining bitcoins for Emma's birthday. When he had presented it to her, she tossed it aside. 10,000 bitcoins. That is like 2 pizzas, said Josh. Josh had kept it. While cleaning one day, Sophia fished it out from under a sofa. He told her to hold on to it. Josh rushed to Sophia and asked if she had it. Of course, you said it could be something big. She got up and looked inside the suitcase that contained everything she had brought back. Josh sat Sophia and her grandchildren around him over dinner, and as they plugged it in, Josh found 10,000 bitcoins glaring back at him. He added another post to Facebook. Thank you for the reminder, Emma. I found the bitcoins. You tossed $1 million aside. In an hour, his inbox was flooded with messages, invites to parties, invite to Daniel and Iris's wedding, and Emma sent him a video too. She sat in her New York apartment, cheek on her palm. Josh, I always knew you would become something. You were like a phoenix rising out of your ashes. I have always loved you and will always love you. We belong together, and I promise to stand by you through thick and thin. I am the only person who has loved you enough to let you go and seek your inner strength. Come back to me, darling, she was saying in the video. Emma, you did not let me go. You let me drown while you cruised away to a better life. You left me depressed, broke, and helpless. You and everyone else. I am not going back to where I was, Josh texted back. Josh, you will regret this. I regretted my previous choices. Now I am correcting those mistakes. Goodbye, Emma. He blocked Emma. In the subsequent days, Josh explained to Sophia's children what a Bitcoin was. As he informed them that he would transfer half of it to them for bringing him into the folds of their generosity. But Mr. Josh, we did not do it for the money, Sophia exclaimed when he was done explaining. And I could never repay your kindness or friendship, but I mined these in the name of love. And now you are all the people I love. Please take it, he explained. With the remaining half, Josh bought land for a home and a school right in Gutape, with the help of Sophia's family, intending to teach the children the meaning of life, vision, and the technical knowledge that had helped him. Over the next few months, Josh went around collecting funds for his school, declining each social gathering in favor of remaining in the village and working towards building his school and home. As the school was inaugurated, he named it after Sophia, the Enlightened One. Over the years, Sophia's School of Life Sciences produced many respected alums who would go forth to establish tech companies, their minds wary of gold diggers and always looking for the kindest, gentlest souls.